Hi ladies, welcome to this installment of our Flipped Professional Development. This session will focus on the reflection time at the end of reading workshop. The document I'm going to work from as I discuss this PD will be right here, reading workshop reflection time. So you're welcome to click on that document as you listen to this if you would like to. So what I did here is just a quick Q&A table about reading workshop reflection time. Let me first say I keep calling it reflection time. You may know it as share time. I tend to use the word reflection time because it looks a little bit different than what it may look like in some classrooms. Some teachers might think of it as just share time. So let's get together and just have kind of a laid back share how things go today. And I feel like reflection is a lot more focused and encourages that student responsibility of where is your learning at and where are you going to take it next. So that's why I refer to it as reflection time. So first, what is reflection time in reading workshop? I'm right here. This is the last few minutes of your reading workshop time. And there may also be times that it's appropriate to stop mid-workshop, so in the middle of your workshop time, to have this time where you bring your class together. Maybe there's a teaching point that you need to make. Maybe you need to, it's an ideal time to have the kids stop and reflect on what they're working on that day before they continue the work. So typically at the end of reading workshop time, but it could also come in the middle as you see the need. The purpose is to close the day's work, giving students the opportunity to reflect and share their learning from the day. It could be related to the priority standard, if that's what you ask your kids to work on during independent reading time, or it could be in reference to each individual student's goal. There'll be days where you're just working on that priority standard as a class, and there'll be days where you're more focused on the exact skill or strategy that each individual student needs. So next, let me say this. I lost my train of thought there for a second. What I would make the comparison to is think about if you're at your kiddo's in a baseball game and they just played this game and the game got over, and would that coach ever be like, all right, bye everybody, like you can go home, there's no discussion or anything after the game? Like that's typically unusual for a coach to do. A coach after a game, if he or she is an effective coach, is going to bring his team together and talk about, okay, what went well, what do we need to build on, what is a teaching point from the game, what's something that we want to replicate that we did good. And it really gives a team a focus for the next time they have a practice or the next time that they have a game. The same is true in reading workshop. Without that reflection time, you have less continuity from one day to the next, and you're missing a phenomenal opportunity to make a teaching point or to have that reflection time so that you can move your readers forward. Okay, right here, what happens as a result of share or reflection time? It builds a community of readers. Anytime you can bring your kids together as a whole and talk about briefly what is going on in their reading life, that's going to build community. It's going to bring your kids together. It provides the opportunity for student self-reflection. I referred to John Hattie in one of our previous videos and his top instructional practices. Self-reflection is super high up on his list of practices that we really need to be devoting time to. So having that consistent time for kids to self-reflect gives the teacher the opportunity for formative assessment. Formative assessment is such a huge part of reading workshop, and this is just one of the many ways that you can see where your kids are at and see where you need to take them next. It allows the teacher to wrap up the day's work and perhaps give focus to the next day's work. So on that, whoops, hold on one second, just making a correction here. Well, I've just messed it up, so I'm just going to stop typing. Obviously, I can't do two things at one time. Okay, so it allows the teacher to say, okay, what we were working on inferring, let's say. for the learning target that day, or we were working on decoding CVC words or finding sight words. It allows you to say, okay, where are we at towards this learning target as a class? And then where do we need to go next? What's the next thing that we need to work on? Next, it allows students to learn from one another. That's something else that John Hattie talks about, is the huge impact that peers have on each other. Obviously, teachers have a huge impact on kids as well. But the research shows that kids learn a ton from one another as well. So it provides that opportunity for them. Okay, so the next thing I have is 2 articles about share time, and some teachers being very honest in how they used to do it and how they think about it now. And it's actually about writing workshop share time, but you can definitely make the shift over to reading workshop easily. So if I click on this one, please do read through both of these articles. There's going to be no quiz or anything on the articles, but I do want you to read through them and reflect on them. One thing I would like to point out on this is this teacher talks about some different structures or things that you can talk about during that reflection time. So obviously reflection, having the kids reflect on their own learning, could be something that you do during that time. Goal setting. So as she talks about here, students might use a checklist or an anchor chart to figure out where they're at in their learning and to set a goal for next time. Problem solving. Reading workshop sometimes does not go like you always want it to, so it's a time to problem solve as a class. Like maybe it was super loud that day, or we were unengaged for whatever reason. So problem solving as a class on how to make tomorrow's time more effective could be something that you use that time for. Making a kid famous, so really highlighting a kiddo and a strategy that they used in the class, which is obviously going to build up the confidence of that kiddo, but also allow kids to learn from one another. Fishbowl a conference. So basically, you're going to model what a conference looks like, or a reflective conversation looks like, with one kiddo or with a group of kiddos, and everybody else sits around you and just watches in on that conversation. So I like that because I think it gives you some different ideas of what that reflection time can look like. Okay, let me go back to here. Sharpen your workshop routines. Don't skip share time. Again, this one is on writing workshop, but the same things hold true to reading workshop. This as well gives you some other ideas of how to structure that reflection time. It could be a whole class share if you think that that would be most beneficial. This works really effectively when everybody worked on the same learning target for that day. And you really want to reflect or reiterate a message or a teaching point from that learning target. Turn and talk. I like to use this one a lot, sometimes by itself, sometimes in combination with whole class share, because it gets everybody talking. A lot of times I hear teachers ask, well, how do I get everybody to be accountable for that reflection time? And turn and talk is a way that you can make that happen. Make an anchor chart. That could be one that you finish or one that you start or add to, but anchoring their knowledge during reflection time could be beneficial. Thumbs up and thumbs down. You can use that if you teach your kids how to do it effectively. I think that it's easy sometimes for kids to just put their thumbs up and say that they have something accomplished or they've had success with something. If you do that one, I would encourage you to teach your kids that they are expected to follow up with evidence. So if they were able to find, or let's say decode a big word that day, they need to be able to give an example of a word that they decoded that day. So just a little more than thumbs up and thumbs down. Reflective questions such as, what did you learn about yourself as a reader today? What do you find success with? What did you struggle with? The teacher choice, where the teacher strategically chooses 1 or 2 students to share their process or product that day. Again, talked about that before. Great for peer learning. Written response. It doesn't have to be verbal. Like maybe you have your kids write some sort of written response. Could be on a Post-it note, or you could even go digital using something like Padlet, for those of you that have used Padlet. I like to implement some of these written reflection times. It's good for your all kids, I think. And then if you can get your kids writing, it's good. But sometimes you have those introverted kids that um, they kind of tire of always being asked to talk on demand, which sometimes they should be asked to do that, but other times we need to give them their think time that they need. Sometimes your introverted students are students just that they just need time to think, and they can some think more effectively through writing. So give them that opportunity. Okay, again, read through this one, the really good stuff here as well. And then the last thing, no, sorry, two more things I have for you. If you're wanting some ideas for questions to ask during reflection time, these are some specific questions that you could ask. If anybody has some that you want to add to that, please don't hesitate to do that. These are just ones that I thought of or found in my research that I thought would be effective. And then the last thing I have is some videos of some share times and ones that looked a little bit different. For example, the first one is very directed, and when all the students were working on the same learning target that day. There will be times where you use that structure. This one, second one, has a use of an anchor chart during share time. This is a fishbowl, and then this is an example of a mid-workshop reflection or share time. So if anybody else has a video of a reflection time, feel free to add it or anything else you want to add to this document. Again, I would like for it to be collaborative. I am not all knowing. You guys know a ton of stuff too. So don't hesitate to share with one another. Let me go back to this document. So here, these are the two articles that I just shared with you, just FYI. Those are also housed there. Okay, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know or add them to this document here. I would love to know where your thinking is, where we need to go deeper with the topic on July 31st. So anytime you guys can add some comments over here, please don't hesitate to do that. Even if it's just, yeah, I agree with that. Or you could even say over here, yes, this is a strength of mine. I would love to share some ideas that I have. It doesn't have to be questions that you have. Okay, I think that's all for now, guys. See you in the next video.